Hello, everybody. This is Mr. De Ocampo. Happy Wednesday, November 4. It's about 9:18 p.m. here, and I'm going to go ahead and go through this lesson that we did during Zoom, but also we're going to give you some hints on problem number 5. Um, and so some groups got to number 5, some groups did not, but we're here to give you some hints as well on number 5. I'm just going to go ahead and present my screen here. All right. So today there was a link in chat, and we worked on number 1. Or otherwise, you can go to the Thanksgiving for the Community activity. That's in Google Classroom. And you can follow these instructions to get to that activity. The activity was our Zoom activity, but it's also your homework. Okay. Now, at the bottom are some awesome starter sentences. These are helper starters that you could use to help you with number 1. So our do now was number 1. Number one said, "What do you know about multiplying fractions?" You can show your thinking using diagrams, explanations, or creating your own sample problem. So these are just some of your classmates' answers to this question. And also, your classmates also came up with some examples. Okay. And your classmates were also coming up with visual examples as well. Okay. So that was number 1. We talked about our agenda, which was our plan for today. We talked about norms. Today's lesson was about practicing and understanding every step on how to express portions. This is something that we've worked on. Find percents of numbers. This is what we worked on last week. And multiply fractions, which we worked on earlier this week. So today's lesson was more of a review of the past, reviewing past assignments or past work. And this assignment is talking about a Thanksgiving party. Now, here's the story behind the problems that we are going to do next. Loto works at the Samoan Community Development Center and is getting ready for the Thanksgiving party. Lanola at Rock and Arihi at Boys and Girls Club are also doing the same thing for their student programs. So for these next problems, you can imagine 3 people who work at 3 different programs getting ready for Thanksgiving, so they have to buy different things like water and vegetables and so on. We worked in groups, we followed the norms, and also there's tickets for prizes by participation. And then we went into breakout rooms and then we started working. So each group did as much as they could. And the rest of it was homework. So 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the next problems. Let's work on number 3. Loto works at the Samoan Community Development Center. Loto loves to buy the food for the Thanksgiving party whenever he can. On Friday, he was told that he needed to get 50 bags of fruits. He was able to purchase 20 bags already. What percent of the bags of fruit was he able to buy? Some of you had trouble visualizing this. So one way to do this problem is to draw the 50 bags of fruits that Loto needed to get. So here's 10 bags, 20 bags, 30 bags, 40 bags, 50 bags. So here's the 50 bags that Loto needed to get. Remember, he was already able to buy 20 bags. So I'm going to mark 20 of these. 18, 19, 20. These are the 20 orange bags that he bought. 20 bags bought. Okay, 50 bags he needed to buy, but he got 20 of them. He only got 20 of them. What percent of the bags of fruit was he able to buy? What percent was he able to buy? So we want to know the percent that he was able to buy. So we're trying to figure this out. Okay, well, some of our classmates said, hey, this is 20 out of 50. This situation, this picture represents 20 out of 50. Now we need to know what the percent is. And to figure out percent, we need to get this to out of 100. If we want the percent, we need to get this out of 100. So how do we take this fraction, 20 out of 50, and change it to out of 100? One way is using multiplication. So 50 times what is 100? How many 50s make 100? Well, the answer to that is 2. If you multiply the denominator by 2, you have to do the same thing here to the numerator. Multiply also by 2 then. 20 times 2 is 40. And so 20 out of 50 is the same thing as 40 out of 100, which is the same thing as what? How many percent? It's the same thing as 40. So what percent of the bags of fruit was he able to buy? Loto was able to buy 40% of the fruits. Of the bags of fruit. Okay. Remember, so these instructions are very similar to what we've done in the past. You can show by either typing here or drawing. You do not have to do both. But if you do both, it may help you remember how to do this next time. So typing the steps can be very helpful. Let's go to number 4. Number 4 is similar to number 3. On Saturday, Loto was told that he needed to get 25 large jugs of water for the event. But he was only able to buy 11 large jugs. What percent of the water jugs was he able to buy? Show how you figured this out using the text box on the bottom or the sketch pad on the left. So, he was supposed to get 25 large jugs of water. So if we wanted to, we can draw the 25 jugs here. All right, I've now drawn the 25 jugs of water that Loto needed to buy. Do we have to do the drawing? The answer is no, we don't have to. 25 is a lot to draw, but for some of you, it's going to be helpful for you to do this so you can see it visually, okay? Here's 25 jugs of water that I drew using circles. He was only able to buy 11 jugs. What percent of the water jugs was he able to buy? So I'm going to go ahead and shade 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, here's our 11 jugs. Okay, now how do we figure out what the percent is? Because that's the question. What percent? How do we do this? So remember, percents are one way to express a portion, okay? But another way to express a portion is using a fraction. And this picture is represented by 11 out of 25. This is our portion, 11 out of 25. By the way, portion means part of something, and definitely this is a picture of a part of something. Now, how can we change this to a percent? How do we change this to a percent? Well, remember, percents are out of 100. So now I'm going to write another fraction out of 100. And my goal now is to figure out what can I multiply to go from 25 to 100? What can I multiply to go from 25 to 100? Well, if you think of quarters, quarters are worth 25 cents. So, how many 25 cents do I need to make a dollar? Or, in other words, how many quarters do I need to make a dollar? Okay, so this is a good thing to memorize. It's 4 quarters, 4 of these 25s to make 100. Over here, what am I going to multiply here? I'm also going to multiply by 4. Okay, whatever you do at the bottom, you do the same thing at the top if you want equal fractions. Okay, 11 times 4 is 44, and so this is 44%. Okay, this is 44%. So what percent was he able to buy? He bought 44%. Okay, that's one way to write the answer for that one. Okay, feel free to pause this video if you need to. Now we're going to go to number 5. Number 5, you'll notice that as you do number 5, there's 1 box, 2 box, 3 different boxes that you can use to sketch it out. And you still have your little box here where you can type up the steps if you want. Okay, so there's 3 parts to this here. Don't forget the veggies. On Sunday, Loto invited his friends Lanoola and Arihi to buy vegetables with him. Lanoola works at the Rock program, while Arihi works at the Boys and Girls Club. The 3 programs will need 80 bags of vegetables each. Okay. Lanoola was able to buy 50% of the bags for Rock. Arihi was able to buy 30% of the bags for the Boys and Girls Club, and Loto was able to buy 75% of the bags for SCDC. Altogether, how many bags of vegetables did the 3 friends buy? Hint, how many bags did each friend buy? Okay, this is a longer problem, and this is turning out to be a 3-part problem because we have 1, 2, 3 people here. And you want to keep in mind that we're dealing with percents, but they don't really want percents. Because the question is asking how many bags. We want to know how many bags, not just percents, okay? But we are dealing with 80 bags each because all 3 programs will need 80 bags each, all right? So our advice for this problem is to do a diagram for Lanoola, to do a diagram for Arihi, and do a diagram for Loto. So Lanoola would be here. We would do a diagram for Arihi. And then we would do another diagram for Loto. Again, pause the video if you need to. Okay. So Lanoola was able to buy 50% of the bags for Rock. So we're going to go to Lanoola and we're going to show 50%. So we've been talking about this idea of a rectangle, which we can also call a health bar. And so like if you're into video games, you can think of this as a health bar. And since Lanoola was able to buy 50%, we can show what 50% looks like, because over here is 100% health, even though we're not talking about health, and 0% health over here. Okay, we want to show where 50% is, and many of you know that 50% is the halfway point, because 50% is another word for half. Okay, so here's 0%, here's 50% health, and here's 100% health. Okay, 0%, 50%, 100%. Now, what also seems to help people and some of your classmates is the other part of labeling. In fact, let me pause this video because I want to move things downward. All right, now I've moved this downwards, and now I'm going to actually shade this in to show you that here's Lanoola, and Lanoola bought 50% of the bags, okay? Now, some of your classmates have an awesome little technique for labeling the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to represent this whole thing right here Okay, so this is just an arrow to show the whole rectangle or the whole health bar here. And Lanaola was able to buy 50%. I've already showed that. But here's the thing. This 100% bar, this 100% health bar, represents 80 bags. This whole bar represents 80 bags. Why is that? Okay. Well, the three programs need 80 bags of vegetables each. Okay. If this problem was talking about 100%, 100% is this whole thing. So, question for you all. What if Lanaola bought all of the bags? How many bags is that? Question again. If Lanaola bought 100% of the bags, how many bags is that? Well, it's 80 bags. Okay. This is just optional. You don't need to draw this part. But I'm just trying to get you all to understand that when we're talking about this whole 100%, we're talking about the whole, which is 80 bags. Okay. So, but remember, did Lanaola buy 80 bags? The answer is no, because Lanaola bought only half the bags. So wait, what's half of the 80 bags? Well, half of the 80 bags is just 40 bags. So this 50%, which is half, is just 40 bags. So for Lanaola bought 40 bags. Altogether, how many bags did the three friends buy? Wait a minute. So wait, we know Lanaola bought 40 bags. Now we need to figure out altogether. So that means we have to figure out how many bags Arihi bought, and we have to figure out how many bags Lota bought. All right, so it looks like we have more work to do. So now we got to go to Arihi over here, and we have to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead then. I'm going to give yourself some space so that you can label some stuff on the top. Okay, we're going to draw our health bar or rectangle. Oops. And remember, the problem calls for 80 bags. All three people need 80 bags. So this whole bar represents 80 bags. Because if we go here and this health bar goes to 100%, then all of this, imagine me shading all of this represents 80 bags. If Arihi had bought all of the bags or 100% of the bags, we're talking about 80 bags. But that's not, sadly, Arihi didn't do that. Sadly, Arihi was able to buy 30%. So now we got to show 30%. Okay? And so when you're showing 30% here, this is just my personal thing. I like cutting this into 50% first. And I know that this is 0% right here. And remember, Arihi did 30% because that's in the problem. And now I'm just going to go ahead and cut these into 10 parts. This whole thing into 10 parts. But from 0 to 50, I can cut this into 5 parts. Here's 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts, and 5, because I know that this is 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%. Okay? And just for the sake of visualizing this, I can just show 60% here, 70% with my horrible handwriting, 80%, 90%, and so on. Okay? We want to know this part. We want to know what 30% is. Okay? So that's what we're trying to figure out. Now, here's the thing. What we've seen people do in the past was people would label this 10%. And why are we doing this, right? How do we know each of these parts are 10%? We know all of these, we know each of these little pieces right here, all of these are 10%, because if you take all of these 10% in green and you add up all the green percents, you should get the 100%. Remember the whole rectangle is 100%? So if you add this 10 plus 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 10, you get 100. Or if you do 10 times 10, you get 100. Okay? Now, how are we going to know? Wait a minute, we're talking about how many bags, and we want to know how many bags. Okay, so the question becomes like, how do we know how many bags Arihi had bought? How can we figure this out? Okay, how can we figure out 30%? Well, okay, one way to go about this is you trying to figure out how many bags go here, 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 and how many bags go here. Okay. How many bags can go in each of these little pieces? If we know that all together this has to be 80. So if you add this plus 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 this, it has to equal 80. Okay. So how do we do this? How do we figure out what the question mark is? Okay, and there's many ways to do this. There's ways to do it with addition, division, and multiplication. Okay, so you have 10 small boxes. You have, we don't know what this is because it's a question mark. 10 times what equals 80 bags total? Remember, all of this is 80 bags. Okay, it's not just 100%, but all of this is 80 bags. Okay. So 10 times what is going to get us 80? 10 times what is going to get us 80? If you can figure that out, then once you figure that out, then you can figure out what goes inside. And once you can figure out what goes inside, I bet you can figure out this part. Okay? So your goal is to try to figure out the 30%. Here's 10%, 20%, 30%. Can you figure this part out? Can you figure out what goes here? Can you figure out how much 30% is? Or how many bags is 30%? Okay, so that is your hint for that one. Okay, similarly, if you're working on Loto, you would do the same thing. You would do the health bar. We know that we're talking about 80 bags total because that's what they need. This labeling that was offered by some of your classmates, I think, is an amazing way to visualize this. That all of this together is 80 bags. 100% total is 80 bags. It's the same thing as 80 bags. So 0, 100. We're recommending that you take this again and cut this into 10 pieces. Now, wait a minute. Here's a good question. Why are we cutting this into 10 pieces? Why is this important? Why is this one way to do this problem? Why are we cutting it to 10 pieces? Well, look at what we're trying to do. So Loto was trying to buy 75%. Okay. So how can we figure out the 75%? Well, this is a little bit trickier. Okay. So 75% is somewhere here. It's halfway between 70 and 80. Okay. So cutting this into 10 might be helpful, but cutting it in different ways might also be helpful. Okay. So you might either want to play with this model or another model of the health bar. You may be cutting this not just in tens, or you might just be cutting it in a different way. Okay. And doing the same things to figure out what goes here can help you figure out the 75% answer. Okay. All right. So good luck with that overall. Use the different boxes to work on something for Loto. Work on a diagram for Loto, Arihi, and Lana Ola. Hopefully these are helpful hints. Number 6. Okay. Number 6 is an area problem, and so you learned back in elementary that area of a rectangle, since we're talking about a table, area of a rectangle is length times width. Okay. And so we're talking about 15 over 4 and 22 over 3, and you're trying to find the area of that. An area does involve multiplication, so you have to figure out how to multiply 15 over 4 by 22 over 3, and hopefully you can figure out a way to do that either with diagrams or without diagrams. Okay. That is it for the hints. Make sure you take advantage of workshops if you need, or extra help if you need it via email, or trying to schedule or trying to drop by workshops. Okay. Take care. Hope this video helps. Bye.